Welcome to Disruptive Successor, a show for next generation leaders in family businesses and entrepreneurs who want to disrupt the status quo and take their existing business to a whole new level. We all know that what got us here isn't going to get us there. This show will provide inspiration, advice, and resources to help you create massive impact. This podcast is sponsored by myself, Jonathan Goldhill, and my company, the Goldhill Group, where we provide coaching for growing companies. I'm Jonathan Goldhill, and my purpose is simple: to guide entrepreneurial leaders in family businesses towards more freedom and fulfillment. I want entrepreneurs to get clarity around the changes that will make them and their businesses more successful so they can experience the same freedom I've enjoyed in my life. Our proven practices challenge business owners to think differently about their business and how they're running it, and quite literally become game changers in our clients' companies. Learn more at thegoldhillgroup.com website, where you can schedule your free strategy session. Hi, it's Jonathan Goldhill, and welcome back to another episode of the Disruptive Successor Show. And today we're going to be talking about the value of having an executive assistant in your business. If you don't have one, if you've never used one, then stay tuned. This is a show that you're going to get a lot of benefit from. With me on air today is Ethan and Stephanie Bull, a happily married couple and co-founders of ProAssisting, a next-generation remote executive assistance firm for business owners and C-suite executives. With backgrounds in advertising, entertainment, hospitality, finance, fashion, and healthcare, and experts in the executive assistant space, they have held a variety of senior positions supporting CEOs in those industries. As top-level executive assistants, they have an intimate look at the principal-family relationship, especially when it involves the business. They are a husband-wife team. They are together 24/7. Let's hear what it's like to work together. Welcome to the show, Ethan first and Stephanie second.
Oh, thanks for having us, Jonathan.
Thanks, Jonathan. It's great to be with you.
All right. And you guys are based where? You're in upstate New York, yeah?
Yes, we are in the Finger Lakes, Canandaigua Lake, which is just east of Rochester, New York.
Wow, it must be really nice up there when the weather's nice, I bet. It's a beautiful part of the world. And now you cut your teeth doing this kind of work first in New York City, right? Where talent goes to become really found as stars, and where you're working for like rock star talent people. So first, just give us a little bit of background. Like, why did you leave New York City and move out to the country?
We had our second son. We were having our second son, and honestly, the thought of finding a new nanny and the expense of that to pay our mortgage on our condo and both go off and work every day, and the pace and the amount of space. We lived in a 1,100 square foot, 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo with our 90-pound Bernese mountain dog, our first son, and then the second one was coming. So it was uncle time. It was uncle, get me out of here. I'm ready to go.
Gotcha. Well, hopefully you live near Central Park so that that dog could get a lot of running. But so what were each of you doing when, what was the last job you held in New York City?
I was working for a hedge fund, and I'd been working there for a couple of years. Before that, I had a little bit of a zigzag journey. I started in finance in New York City, working for a multi-billion-dollar hedge fund, working for a CEO. And then after almost a decade, I decided to follow what I thought was where my heart was, which was in the fashion world, and went to work for J. Crew Corporate and worked for the CEO there, and quickly realized that I liked fashion as a hobby, but did not like the people that worked in fashion. And I was I was the head of 8 assistants, and it was a bit of chaos. So I went back into the finance world before we came to upstate New York.
Interesting. And Ethan, what was your journey while you were in your closing years in New York City?
Well, actually, what's interesting about I think my story is that there's probably only about 2% of men are executive assistants out of all the assistants across the country. And I moved to New York City to work in entertainment, in film and television. And that is where the assistant position is really the stepping stone, if you will, for about 60 to 70% of the people who go on to have successful careers in entertainment. And I did that for 5 years and then shifted over to advertising, where I was executive assistant to the chief operating officer of Deutsch, the ad agency, not the bank. And I was also director of admin services. So I oversaw a team of about 12 assistants, and we supported about 60 executives. I was at Deutsch for 13 years.
You got to work with a famous Donnie Deutsch, yes?
I did. Yes. Donnie is a character and a real hard charger and really good at what he does. He really is. You got to tip your hat to Donnie.
100%. And I used to watch him on the TV show that he had on, I guess it was CNBC. I'm not sure. Yep. But impressive guy. And so, all right. So when did you decide to form ProAssisting?
We actually formed ProAssisting initially in 2009 as an educational and training program for other college graduates to learn how to be an executive or administrative assistant real quick, so they could pick an industry that they're passionate about, get a job as an assistant, be a rock star, get promoted from within, and take that as their career path. We ran that from 2009 to 2017. After a few years, it kind of just ran itself. We had good SEO for the website. And then in 2018, we transitioned it to the company it is today, which is a fractional remote executive assistance firm.
And it's a bit different than your other virtual assistant firms. Now, let's talk about that. I started working, I hired my first virtual assistant in 2004 when I was just launching my coaching practice. And I knew I needed someone to help me with marketing. In some cases, it was mailers. So while my VA was fully virtual, I did enjoy the benefit of them being close by so that I could drop off a box of stuff to mail with and be able to sign things. And it was convenient. And actually, when my VA moved on the other side of the hill from where I was living in Woodland Hills, and she moved over to Culver City, I stopped working with her and I didn't have a VA for a number of years. And part of it was like, I didn't know how I would get over having someone who wasn't there to do those types of things, where I could drop off postage stamps or, well, maybe that's kind of mundane, but drop off supplies that I had ordered that were in my office. So, but your business is a bit higher level and a bit distinctive. So first, can you explain to people a little bit about how this whole remote concept works, as if you were talking to a prospective customer? And then let's just start there. How does a remote VA work? And then also, what's the distinction between yours business and other VAs? Because you have a different, I think, market that you serve.
Yeah. So when we moved to upstate New York, and I actually landed one of the few roles in Rochester that was commensurate with our experience and at our level of compensation, Stephanie was home with the kids, and a friend of ours called and said, "Hey, I know this Fortune 100 consultant. She travels the world. She needs support. She doesn't care where you live. she wants someone who's great and she doesn't need full time. Are you interested? And Stephanie was like, sure. And we started running that invoice through ProAssisting as the training company. And that kind of got our wheels turning and looking at the virtual assistant space as a whole. And what we found, frankly, it didn't align with either Stephanie nor my experience or compensation level. It was, whether you're getting a virtual assistant from overseas, which you can pay $5 an hour, and that can be amazing if you find a great one, or depending on your needs. But the US-based virtual assistants, it was a lot of companies charging $45 an hour for their service, and then compensating the assistant at $18, $20, $22 an hour, and partnering them with 8, 10, 12 clients. Now, the number of clients didn't align with what we know as providing great support. We really feel that a 3-to-1 executive to assistant ratio is the sweet spot. And that worked for us when Stephanie was leading teams of assistants and I was leading teams of assistants. And the other thing is the compensation, frankly, was just not even in the ballpark of where we needed to be to really leverage our experience. So we saw this gap between where kind of the virtual assistant service kind of ends and hiring a full-time assistant begins. And that's kind of where we've positioned ProAssisting. And, our knack is getting assistants who could command 6 figures in major metropolitan areas, getting them to partner with us and take on clients. And frankly, a main reason is that for that is that the retainers that we collect, 80% of it goes to the assistant, and they can create a really nice lifestyle business, leveraging their metropolitan EA experience, move away from those large metropolitan areas, and still support CEOs or non-executive board directors or entrepreneurs. And both Stephanie and I are currently serving clients. I have 2. Stephanie has 2. We've been doing this since 2018. Yeah. And are you 2017?
Yeah. 2017. That was the first client that Ethan mentioned. It was my friend that reached out to me and said, Stephanie, I think you would be the perfect person for her. I was at home with a very young baby and a toddler for the first time not working. And I found that I missed that part of my life. Since 2017.
Yeah. So Stephanie, if a listener was running a family office, and family office is involved in wealth management, their philanthropy, they're buying businesses, there's a whole lot of activities that they might be doing. What might someone in your shoes be doing for them? What kind of services to get people thinking about, like, gosh, I never thought I could use someone to do that. Well, what might you be doing for them?
One of the CEOs I worked with in the financial world, I project managed a $50 million home on the Connecticut coast for him, of course, with a team of other people. But I was the point person. I was the person that the general contractor would talk to first, and I would then filter all of that to my boss. So I was, triaging everything for him, so he wasn't trapped in the weeds. And he made it very clear, hey, Stephanie represents me. What she says is coming from me, and you listen to her and respect her. So
great, awesome. So super.
I would add. Yeah. I mean, that process. I mean, I think Stephanie is being a little modest. I mean, he brought her into the kickoff meeting with the architect, the general contractor, the project manager, and, a representative from the town, and basically said, this is Stephanie. You are dealing with her. When she says something, it's coming from me. I can't waste time by having interactions with all of you. We're leveraging Stephanie to filter through her. So she worked with the architect all the way up to ensuring the art on the walls when it was finished. And I think that kind of speaks to, from a family office perspective, an executive assistant can have an overview of all the properties, all the assets. Mm-hmm. They can know when insurance is coming due, or categorize the art collection and which pieces are at what property, mm-hmm. Manage the staff.
Another big part of my role was the annual, especially the annual giving. It was done more than once a year, but managing that. One of the families I worked for had a foundation. So I was very involved working with the accountant and the lawyer in managing that process every year.
Okay. So suppose that you don't have enough money to be able to do a $50 million home on the water in Connecticut. What might some of our listeners who are lower end than that, what would they maybe expect to spend, or where might they be in their career that they would be thinking about hiring someone from your organization that's at that high level? Help me understand that, Ethan.
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned earlier, we work off of a 3-to-1 executive to assistant ratio. And what that means is each of our assistants has a maximum of 3 clients. And so we charge by resources. So 1/3 the resources of one of our assistants, who would be in and out of your business and available to you Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, after hours and on weekends in atypical situations, or should you be traveling or tracking flights. We charge $3,000 a month. Okay. It's a flat retainer rate. And in terms of what they can do, we really view a top level executive assistant as filling 5 performance multipliers. And we detail these in our book. One is being a business partner. One is being a chief of staff. The other is being a project manager. The 4th is being an assistant / scheduler. And the 5th is being a personal assistant. So it's really being that single point of contact that can take things off of a principal's plate, keep things from going onto their plate. And as Stephanie was mentioning, being that single point of contact for any number of things. We could talk, one of my clients needed to get her fence repaired in the backyard. I got 3 general contractors to show up and provide quotes to her husband. I'm also interacting with the chairman of the board that she sits on, and anything in between. And so in that kind of intimate relationship, that kind of partnership, you really need to create a know, like, and trust feeling both ways. And you need to be partnered with someone who's going to represent you and your business and your family at a high level, at the level that you want to be represented at.
Oh, that's amazing.
We're offering that at $3,000 a month, $36,000 a year.
That's the starter package, or that's the standard?
That's the lowest level that we work at. Yeah. And then that's about 70% of our clients.
And how many hours do they get for that? Is it based on an hours, or is it?
Well, all right. This is going to be interesting. I'm interested to get your take on this.
Okay. Because I think that's a very reasonable fee, by the way.
Oh, great. We're thinking about raising it, but not yet.
Thinking about hiring you before you raise it.
But, if you took 177 hours a month, which is average Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and you divide it in 3, you're in the ballpark from the time component.
Okay.
But we like to look at it and say that there are other values in this transaction than time. Right. And one being the experience of the assistant that we're partnering you with. This is not their first rodeo.
I agree.
They are committed to Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 work. Mm-hmm. They're not going to say, I can only answer emails between 10 and 12 on Wednesday and Thursday and Fridays. Mm-hmm. You're getting the exclusivity, meaning you're only sharing this assistant with 2 other clients. So they are responsive. You can call them randomly at 2:38 on a Wednesday, and most likely they're going to pick up the phone. And then most importantly, and this gets glossed over a lot in the assistant role, is that they are going to gain legacy knowledge about you in your business, in your family, in your community that builds up inside the assistant over time. That's going to make them more efficient. That's going to make it so people are coming to them instead of you asking questions because they know they'll get a quicker response. And they're going to know what's going to set you off, what's going to make you happy, what your objectives are. And there is a large value on that is outside of time.
Right. But what I heard you say is that you're getting almost 60 hours a month from this person.
It's a little less than that in terms of, but yes.
Yeah.
It's a great value, I think. So yeah, we should talk. I do have a VA and I'm happy with them. But you could always use more than one, I guess. So, all right, let's shift gears here. This is a program about family businesses, and you are a family business. It's the two of you, and you do have a disruptive successor, but I understand that they have to go to class in 20 minutes. So they're too young to really take over. So we won't be talking about the generational transfer or the succession plan. What's it like to work together 24/7, live together 24/7? It almost looks like your studio is out of your home because it's so casual looking. I see a piano and a couch and some nice artwork. I mean, what's the good, the bad, and the ugly?
All right, who goes first?
Okay, I guess I go first. So I actually earlier was walking our dog, our Bernese mountain dog puppy, Rosie. And I was thinking to myself, tomorrow is Friday, and Fridays, my husband likes to maybe get out and play some golf in the afternoons. And I find myself getting excited because that means that I get some time to myself. And that means having the house to myself. And it means just being quiet. And I think that he feels the same way. I was on a trip recently where I was gone for a few days, and I value that time. As much time as we spend together. It's funny because so many friends say to me, "Oh my God, I would probably murder my husband if I worked with him." And, obviously we live together.
That's the ugly. I'm not sure if what you're telling me is the good or the bad. I'm still trying to figure it out, but I think it's a double-edged sword here.
It is. I mean, I think the good, honestly, is working together has forced us to communicate better in everything. So we have to communicate in the business, and that has made it's made me communicate much better in our emotional personal lives, and raising a young family. It's a lot. And
that's good. I think communication obviously is key in any business. We all can say that's a pretty generic statement. And part of the way I help my clients facilitate improved communication is by outlining what we call core values, which I also call shared values. They also could be called operating agreements or behaviors, so that when you're hiring people, that that they're going to be a good core value fit. And whatever those operating agreements or behaviors are, it might be do the right thing. It might be professional. It might be respond to all requests within 24 hours. And you'd have a whole lot of sub-statements around it. But, I think when married couples work together, they often overlook having a set of core values that are documented and shared and communicated, because they're living together 24/7 and they just assume these values. But I do think that it makes sense to have values, and they're articulated, and because culture really matters, right? Peter Drucker said, culture eats strategy for lunch. And family dynamics, someone said recently, eats culture culture eats strategy for breakfast. And the person said, and family dynamics eats culture before strategy, before breakfast or something. So these are, it's challenging. So decision-making, how is it done? Do you have an equal say? Do you have to have an agreement? Do you commit once there's agreement? Does one person have more of a say? what are your thoughts on this?
I think in our relationship, Ethan tends to be the big idea guy, and I love that about him. He's a dreamer. He's super creative, very imaginative. And I mean, that's, part of what made me fall in love with him in the first place. And I always listen to all of his ideas, his pitches, whatever. And then I contemplate and I have to ruminate and think. And he calls me the governor. And I know that sounds kind of,
No, I think that's great. I like that.
Yeah,
So that's
I'm the governor.
You're the manager you're the get it done, the taskmaster. Now, yeah. I have to just digress for a moment and ask, Ethan, was it your idea to get a Bernese Mountain Dog, which is a giant dog, and put it in a 1,100 square foot apartment in New York City? Because that's pretty imaginative, I have to say. Or Stephanie was actually,
that was mutual. I mean,
well, okay, so
we did have a debate. Stephanie wanted a golden, and I had a burner.
Another big
really
dog.
Wanted another burner.
Oh yeah.
But we actually bought our condo for a dog we didn't have yet.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Our condo had like 700 square foot terrace.
Yeah.
And so she was able to be out there in, 0 degree weather
and also when we say terrace, it was ground level with grass. It wasn't like a
Got it. Oh, nice. Okay. Let's get back to the business stuff. So, so we got to balance work, life, family.
Well, I didn't get a chance to add.
Ethan, you go ahead. Answer the question.
All right. So I think our communication actually started before we started the business, obviously being a couple, living in New York City, and both having the same kind of role, but just different industries. There would be years when Stephanie made 4 times the amount of money I made.
Wow.
And yeah, because she was bonused out twice a year. It was a hedge fund. It was high flying, and her CEO was a prince of a man and really valued her. So that, along with creating issues with my ego and where I was, and how being an assistant and a male assistant in a female dominated role, and and feeling a little bit ashamed around that, definitely we had to have open lines of communication there, because we purchased this condo, and the way we were able to purchase it was on her salary and her bonus. And so, whenever somebody comes to us, we like to sit at the bar when we go out for dinner, and a young couple will sit next to us and they're engaged, and we're like, oh, congratulations. And they're like, okay, so what advice? You guys look so happy. It all comes down to talking about money, making sure you're on the same page from a financial perspective, and knowing your numbers and everything. And then when we moved upstate and we both didn't have jobs, that's when we really started tracking our monthly spending on a down to the penny basis. And those conversations between us, I think, really set the foundation for successful business, because we could really start to see how we can really do this. We can really make this happen.
Yeah.
Because we kind of built our business to fill ourselves up with clients, which we did fairly quickly. And then we started partnering with assistants and filling up with more clients. We're now on the back half of that, where Stephanie and I are kind of maybe decreasing our client load so we can put more focus on the business. But having those initial conversations in New York City around finances was huge. The other thing I'll say is that we have a running joke is that I handle outside the house and Stephanie handles inside. She keeps everything alive, and I'm outside the house. In our business, what's interesting is that we kind of are siloed. So like we have a get together in the morning, like, where are you going? What are you doing? What's on your plate? Goes both ways.
It's like our morning meeting.
Yeah. And I handle the sales and the assistant side. Stephanie is just so much better at the big picture, brainstorming with assistants about how to get projects done, and handling that side, that it's not us sitting in the same room 9 to 5.
Right.
And so sometimes we like to lean into that idea because it freaks people out, but the balance is actually really good.
That's great. Do you see the possibility of adding anyone else to your leadership team or management team in the future? Have you contemplated that? Doesn't look like the answer is yes.
No, yeah, I think we did. We are partnered with. We're eating our own dog food, and that we have an assistant for us now. That's
great
in our model, and we're neck deep in creating a second revenue stream for the business on the assistant side from an educational and training perspective. So we're kind of going full circle to what we started in 2009. And now, we've had the experience of bringing 80 plus assistants and going through a transition from working a W-2 full-time role to working clients and them being so much happier. And really, the technology caught up. It used to be you had a Mac, you couldn't do certain Microsoft programs, or you had a Mac PC, you couldn't. That's all gone away. Mm-hmm. And we really, that's kind of really what we saw in 2017,
Yeah.
So as we wrap up the show, what would you say are some of the greatest challenges going forward or currently in your business?
You want to go first? You want me to go?
Yeah. Well, certainly the elephant in the room is AI, and how that is going to play a role in all of our lives, and as a threat to our industry. I still like to think of us as we are still people, and we bring so much more to the table than just facts and answers. We're more about the hospitality, problem solving side of it.
Well, where do you see the AI taking its place? I mean, clearly, like note taking in meetings, right? You don't need to be on a Zoom meeting as an executive assistant to take notes when, whatever, Fathom note taker, whatever the, AI Otter, whatever tool you're using, can just do all that, transcribe it. You could clean it up, send it, and, highlight the key points. But like, where else are you seeing the threats or risk of, threat of substitutes?
I mean, say travel planning, that
calendaring, travel planning.
Yeah. Calendar. I mean, already if you use Apple products, if you're messaging with someone mentioning like, hey, let's meet for coffee next week at 10, Suri's already suggesting, hey, can I put this in your calendar for, next Thursday at 10 with Megan?
Right.
It's already there. But certainly.
Can we talk about travel for just another moment? Because I find that I spend too much time on travel, and I have yet to create a set of rules that I would then hire someone to do my travel planning. Rules like he likes aisle, not window, or vice versa. He likes, obviously likes to sit up in business class you could create a set of rules. The challenge is I find that, and there's some AI, right? You can use Google Flights, for instance, to see who's got the best fares. But the thing that I spend a lot of time with is actually looking at the seat. How big is the seat? How much arm room is it? Does it go back? Because I don't want to fly premium economy cross country if the seat only goes back 6 inches and is basically like being in the back of a bus. I'm sorry. I'm too spoiled, too old, too whatever, my back just doesn't like it. So, but I have a threshold. I don't want to pay $2,000 really to fly across country unless it's a 4-day, back and forth, and I got to do it. And so I think it's really difficult to book travel, period, is what I'm saying. And then to think that AI is going to be able to figure this all out and have a set of rules. I don't know. I don't even know that a VA can do it that well for somebody.
Yeah, no, we get to the nub of all of those things you're mentioning.
I bet
with our new client questionnaire.
Yeah,
and it's a conversation. It's a breathing document that you have with your executive assistant, and it doesn't happen overnight. Right. And all good things take a little patience, take a little time. But with AI and what we're seeing, number one, Stephanie made a great point. We've already been interacting with it and seeing it, just not knowing that we're calling that machine learning or artificial intelligence.
Right.
So those things have been happening.
Right.
But one of the things that we think that we're kind of planting our flag on is that we are at the high end of the fractional remote support space, but we are still much lower than hiring a full-time assistant. And our level of clientele, we believe, this is a thesis, that they want someone to know how to leverage AI in their favor, but they really don't care. They don't want to sit down and learn AI. They just want to know that their assistant's getting the best information, giving them the most options, and working as efficiently as possible on their work and for them, leveraging these new technologies. And so I think we're in a period where it's come really hard and fast from November when ChatGPT really came out and took the world by storm. But we are going to go through this 5 to 10 year period where, you're still going to have a lot of people who frankly don't care about AI. Their life was fine before it. It's going to be fine after it. And it's more about partnering with a person that they know, like, and trust, who has all of their information at their fingertips and can sit on hold with Delta for 2 hours, and those kind of things. So it's at first, I think I stuck my head in the sand like an ostrich and didn't want to think about it. But now I think it's a huge opportunity. It's just a matter of what prism you look at it through and how you look at it.
Sounds good. Well, guys, we need to wrap up. It was a pleasure having you on the show and talking to you. I hope people who listen to the show will think about the activities that you're doing that are really in the bucket of the trivial many. I talked in a few episodes earlier about the vital few and the trivial many and applying strategic focus and leveraging your time and talent. So you could spend more time in your zone of genius. Dan Sullivan calls it unique abilities, but just working on the stuff that you're really passionate about, that you're really great at, that you love doing, that's high value, that's high paying, and find other people who love what they're doing and whom you can offload that work to, because they're probably really great at it. And I always say, if someone can do something 80% as well as you can, give it to them. In this case, these people might be 100% better than you at it. And so, give up the things that you don't like doing or you do like doing and you may be even competent at if it leverages your time and talents. And I'm sure the two of you would agree. So
absolutely. I like that rule of thumb.
Yeah, and I would just say, not ProAssisting and us, but there are so many options out there. And as you mentioned before, you have a VA, but you might also want a fractional executive assistant to manage your VA. And the options nowadays in that remote support space, there are many. And whenever we talk to a prospect, it's not about hire us. It's about really, what do you need? Because we're a month-to-month agreement, and it's all about, what does this person need? Because I don't want to go through the work of partnering them with someone and going 2 months in and they're like, whoa, this is too much. So it's all about dissecting what the principal would need and then pointing them in that right direction. So
exactly.
Options are endless.
Tom Friedman said it well when he wrote the book, The World is Flat. And folks, you are just a digital call away from your, what you need. So, all right, Ethan, Stephanie, thanks so much. Folks, you know the drill. If you got some value from this, share this episode with other people. If you're interested in ProAssisting, they can find you where best? Would it be website, LinkedIn?
Website and LinkedIn, Ethan Bull, Stephanie Bull on LinkedIn, and website is proassisting.com.
Sounds easy enough. And folks, give us a great rating on your listening podcast application of choice. And stay tuned for future episodes. Thanks so much.
This podcast is sponsored by myself, Jonathan Goldhill, and my company, the Goldhill Group, where we provide coaching for growing companies. I'm Jonathan Goldhill, and my purpose is simple: to guide entrepreneurial leaders in family businesses towards more freedom and fulfillment. I want entrepreneurs to get clarity around the changes that will make them and their businesses more successful so they can experience the same freedom I've enjoyed in my life. Our proven practices challenge business owners to think differently about their business and how they're running it, and quite literally become game changers in our clients' companies. Learn more at thegoldhillgroup.com website, where you can schedule your free strategy session. Thank you for joining us on the Disruptive Successor podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, review, and share with a friend who would benefit from the message. If you're interested in picking up a copy of my book, Disruptive Successor, go to disruptivesuccessor.com.